What up, book dwellers? I'm Colleen, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler review of Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. This book was amazing, completely lived up to the hype. I think it was even better than the first one. Let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know, Thunderhead is the sequel to Scythe, which is a book that tells the story of a futuristic society where basically humans have conquered mortality. So in theory, everyone is immortal. However, the hard part about this is that because of population control and like just generally what it means to be a human, there are people, scythes in society, who are in charge of killing people. There's a universal government that is digital, kind of like the cloud, and there's a ton of things that I could explain about the world. But it follows the two main characters, Sintra and Rowan, as they are chosen to be a scythe's apprentice and learn what it means to be a scythe and what it means to actually be a human as well. So if you have not read Thunderhead or Scythe, please leave now and come join the conversation once you have finished it. Because I'm going to be going full on spoilery, especially because if you have not read Scythe, even just talking about Thunderhead is a spoiler. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right in, and goodbye non-spoilery people. Okay, so this book destroyed me. Like, initial thoughts of this book are just wow. It was so good. I liked it. Like I said, I like it better than the first one. It completely blew my mind. I think the craziest thing about this book is that even though it's set in the future, like far in the future to where we've, conquered diseases and death, it's just so relatable. I was having a really hard time like trying not to relate it to present day, which is great. Goddard and Scythe Curie are up against each other. It was too relatable to the past US election, honestly. And then there's this part where it was like the only entry, there were only 2 entries from other people besides the Thunderhead in this book, which was really interesting. But like, it's when he was like saying, under my leadership we will sweep away the cobwebs of archaic thinking and polish our great institution to a shine that will make us the envy of all other regions. And he's trying to resolve the quota system. And the quota system would then allow sites to glean without just to glean as they want, which is crazy. And so yeah, this whole section was like, I was having flashbacks to like the election and with like Trump being elected and everything. So that was crazy reading that, and I was like, this is so real. And then also like the ending, like the last 50 pages were set up really nicely, and you knew something was coming based on like how much they talked about like the bad technology that Endura has and all that stuff. But it was crazy to me to like get to all this, and it was so well thought out that after you read it, you could like think back in the story and like definitely puzzle piece together where like he was hinting at everything happening. But I mean, it was crazy. It was like suddenly everyone was dying, and like everyone had 12 minutes left to live, and like it was a lot. And I will honestly say that this book is the only book that I've ever read that has made me cry in fear. Like, those of you who know me know that I have like a really huge fear of sharks. Like, some people are scared of spiders, some people are really scared of like, I don't know, like normal things. And like, I have this like completely irrational fear of sharks, which makes no sense because I live in the Midwest. Like, that scene at the end where like they are all being eaten by sharks, and Goddard lets them down, and they describe the blood and the sharks going crazy, and I was just, I started to cry because it was literally like my worst nightmare. I was like, are you kidding me, Neal Shusterman? Putting everyone, like all of the heads in the major regions, all the highest blades, like just died. And they didn't just die, they got eaten by freaking sharks. Like, what? It was crazy. It blew my mind, and I was not having a good time. It was like, it was like my worst nightmare ever, and it was written so well that I was genuinely terrified. but also, like, Goddard's head? What? Like, I had to read that section of the book so many times because I was like, am I reading this right? Did he really attach his head to a body? And then I was like, and it was Tiger's body? And it was crazy. Another thing that I really liked about this book was the character development. Like, with both Sintra and Rowan, like, you really got to see them grow, and you got to see, I mean, Sintra finally coming, like, growing up and becoming, you know, such a great scythe and such a revolutionary scythe, and she, you know, there was one line where she said that, like, she actually felt like Scythe Anastasia, that she didn't feel like Sintra anymore, and, like, I just got so proud of her, honestly, just because she's been working so long and she didn't want to be a scythe in the first place, but, like, she's good at what she does, and she's just so, she represents what the goodness is of this whole situation, and so seeing her grow into that role was really nice. And then Rowan's arc was crazy because I love Rowan because he's such a mess. Like, he went through so many things. Like, you know, at the beginning of the book, he was killing all of the scythes, and he was killing all of the misbehaved scythes, the scythes who were gleaning with prejudice, which is great. And he's kind of like this undercover good guy, but of course not everyone views it that way at all. And then watching him go through that training and watching Goddard, like, physically beat him and kill him several times, and, like, at the end, him, you know, trying to escape from the island and everything, it was crazy. Just his arc was so good. I think that it's a very unique arc, especially considering everything he went through, so I very much appreciated Rowan's character development. Another thing that I really liked about this book was the fact that we got to see more about, like, what tone cults were, and kind of, like, a background as well about the unsavories. Thanks to Grayson, like, we got to see in depth, you know, what goes on with both of those things, and I thought it was, you know, very interesting, like, getting to see how the tone cults lived and, like, how they view the meaning of their life, as well as just, like, the way unsavories live their lives too. That scene where they were in, like, the restaurant, the bar place, and, like, people could just punch the employees and not get in trouble for it because they were unsavory, and, like, the employees are there for that, and, like, their nanites are pumped up so they won't even feel it, and, like, that was crazy to me, that the Thunderhead knows that that's what they need to feel like they have a purpose in this world, so he's able to give that to them, and they're not going to get consequences unless those consequences will help them feel important, you know? So that was crazy to me. I really just like seeing where the world is in the future. Like, there was the part where it said in, like, a sentence that Disneyland was gone, and I started freaking out because I love Disney so much, and, like, I'm like, wait, we can't just say that Disney World is gone. Like, we need to, like, you need to tell me why it's gone. Like, what happened to it? Was it, like, a terrorist attack? Did it, like, flood? Like, what happened to Disney World? You can't just drop that in there, Neal Shusterman. Come on. But yeah, and just, like, seeing what happened to St. Louis, and, like, how, like, what countries kind of merged together to become these nations, and, like, what regions of America, you know, stayed together. The fact that Texas is, like, an undocumented territory cracks me up. Like, it's the fact that, like, in Texas everyone can do what they want, and I'm like, wow, that's hilarious. And I also just, like, yeah, the fact that people live in Antarctica. I just really like learning what happened to the world, you know, and what jobs are, and, like, how society's still trying to improve even though it's perfect, and all this stuff. So that to me is, like, one of the best parts about the book, is just seeing what happens, you know, to the world that we live in. I also find it really interesting, like, looking at who scythes choose as their, like, patron historic. You know, like, I'm a huge fan of like the Anastasia story, so I was obviously very excited that Sintra chose her. But like there was a Lincoln, like there's so many things, and then it killed me because there was a site Beyonce of one of the newer sites, and I was like, that the fact that Beyonce is like a site name is just incredible. But I like seeing like poets and like all this stuff, like who they choose from, you know, the age of mortality and who they find important despite all these years that have gone by. So that's really cool. Also in this book, the Thunderhead as a character really, it's so interesting, but it's also like I'm getting concerned. Like I loved getting every, like the beginning or end of every chapter with, you know, what the Thunderhead is thinking. And it's crazy to me that the Thunderhead has developed all of these feelings, and the Thunderhead, you know, wants what's best for everyone, but he also, like, the Thunderhead, I don't know, I just don't trust him because he's like a human-made thing, and, you know, and humans aren't perfect, and so the Thunderhead can't be perfect, you know, and so it's hard for me to trust him, and I'm concerned about the next book and like where that's gonna go, and I just, frankly, I don't trust the Thunderhead, especially just like seeing how he was getting in, like he was finding ways to listen to Curie and Faraday's conversation about the Island of Nod, and like learning about the blind spot, and like him weeping and then marking everyone with an unsavory status except for Grayson. Like, I just don't trust the Thunderhead, and I'm scared for the third book because I genuinely like do not trust the Thunderhead. And I'm like, it's technology, I don't care if it's making the world perfect, but like that's so much power, and I know it's like a computer system, but I don't trust him. I don't. So we'll see what happens. But it's also really interesting just the Thunderhead's role in society, you know, because besides the tone cults, you know, religion isn't a thing really in the future in this world. So they all talk about how religion is a thing, but the Thunderhead is very close to like a human god. You know, they talk to the Thunderhead, they hope for things from the Thunderhead, they want the Thunderhead to create this perfect world, and the Thunderhead is literally this all-knowing entity who knows like the Thunderhead knows everything that's going on Earth at any one period of time, and they worship him like a god, and it's crazy because it's just so much talk about how they don't believe it, and even like listening to the Thunderhead talk about how like they don't know if there's a god or not, and they do their best in this human world, but really humans worship the Thunderhead like a god. They want the Thunderhead to solve all of their problems. They hope, and like Grayson would talk to him, the role that the Thunderhead plays, and it's becoming more and more human, and which again goes into me worrying about its role. But it's just fascinating that in a world with no god, something from technology, you know, becomes their god, and it's kind of crazy to think about that humans created this thing that becomes all-knowing, you know. It's like a human created god. It's pretty crazy. Oh man, there were just so many good things about this book. Like I loved Faraday, you know, looking for the Island of Nod, like going in the Library of Congress and finding those books, and just all these side plots that I just have so many questions, and I want to know, you know, Grayson is like the only one left, you know, the only one of this group besides like Faraday, really, who can hopefully make a change, because Sintra and Rowan are sitting at the bottom of an ocean somewhere waiting to be saved. Curie, you know, killed herself, which was like, I cried there too. The sharks and Curie dying within like 20 pages of one another was not good for my emotions. But yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, where do we go from here? We know the Thunderhead trusts Grayson, but to what extent? Like, what is Grayson going to do about it? how does the Thunderhead treat everyone if everyone is marked as an unsavory? How does the world respond? You know, I have all these questions for book 3, and book 3 is called The Toll, and I'm like thinking it has to do with Grayson Tolliver or something. I don't, because he's like the key somehow. The Thunderhead like trusts him, and I don't know, but I hope Sintra and Rowan are okay. I hope we find, you know, we go to that blind spot. I hope we learn a lot. I'm really scared for book 3. So overall, I'm very excited for book 3. I obviously gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It's like a book that I've been recommending to everyone lately to read. I think that it's like a 1984, but for this time, just because of where we're at right now with technology and everything, I just think it's so important, and it's so real reading it, you know? It's so good. Yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you guys so much for freaking out about this with me. If you also have read Thunderhead, you should give a comment down below so we can freak out about it together. Like, who's your favorite character? What was your favorite scene? What do you think is gonna happen in book 3? Just let me know, because I very much need to freak out about this to everyone possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Corey and I post every Tuesday and Friday on this channel, so if you want to hear more from us, please go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!